Russian President Vladimir Putin yesterday announced that he was suspending Russia's participation in the nuclear treaty with the United States. It was the last major remaining nuclear arms control treaty with the US. The West has now slammed Russia and echoed concerns over the suspension of this nuclear treaty. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has said Russia's decision has made the world a far more dangerous place.
More nuclear weapons and less arms control makes the world more dangerous. And that's the reason why in NATO we have worked so hard to engage Russia on issues related to arms control, and why NATO allies have supported the New START. And also why I'm calling on Russia today to reconsider its decision to suspend its participation in the New START agreement. We have to remember that this is one of the last major arms control agreements we have.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has called Russia's decision to suspend participation in this treaty, its last major pillar of nuclear arms control, irresponsible. He has said it has left room for Moscow to reverse its course.
The announcement by Russia that it's suspending participation in New START is deeply unfortunate and irresponsible. We'll be watching carefully to see what Russia actually does. We'll, of course, make sure that in any event we are postured appropriately for the security of our own country and that of our allies.
Blinken added that Washington will be watching Moscow closely and will make sure that in any event they are postured appropriately for the security of the United Nations and its allies. Meanwhile, the Russian Foreign Ministry later said Russia will continue to observe limits on the number of nuclear warheads it can deploy under the treaty, despite the Russian president announcing yesterday that Moscow was completely suspending the nuclear pact. The 2010 New START treaty provides for limits on the deployed strategic nuclear arsenals of the world's two largest nuclear powers, capping strategic nuclear assets at 1,550 deployed warheads and 700 deployed missiles and heavy bombers. The treaty also provides for joint monitoring of each side's deployed nuclear arsenals. The Russian President Vladimir Putin has decided to suspend Moscow's participation in the New START nuclear treaty, which is the last major remaining nuclear arms control treaty with the United States. For more on this, let's now go across to our correspondent, Anas Malik, who joins us from Kiev. Anas, predictably, very strong reactions have come in from the West, with the NATO chief even saying the world is now a far more dangerous place. What kind of reactions are you picking up where you are in Kiev? Of course, the US president has reaffirmed his unstinting support to Ukraine, but how is this development by Russia being viewed?
Well, it's being viewed with a lot of skepticism here, Neha, because it's essentially danger calls for Kyiv. The fact that the Russian president has announced to pull out of the START treaty, it is something that is worrisome, not just for Kyiv, but for Brussels, for London, for Washington, and elsewhere, for New York as well, because that gives that open-ended check to use or to go ahead and test nuclear weapons as and when they need be. That is what is more concerning for Kyiv, and that is the reason we're looking at Kyiv responding to it in a manner, in a knee-jerk manner, but rightly so. And they're more now dependent on their Western allies. And the reason we're seeing these more calls for more and more ammunition and weapons in order to prevent and preempt any Russian attack or any Russian strike that might come towards Kyiv or to any parts of Ukraine as and when the snow melts and as and when the spring offensive that is expected to start somewhere in the mid of April is to take place. Neha?
Right. Talking about that spring offensive which Kiev fears, The first anniversary of this war is now just 2 days away. Anas, how exactly is this being viewed in Kiev? Is there a lot of fear on the ground? Because there has been a lot of talk about how Russia could actually step up its attacks in the run-up to this anniversary.
Well, this palpable fear, Russia has already shelled Kherson in the past 48 hours, and there have been civilian casualties as per the Ukrainian media and the Ukrainian emergency services. There is palpable fear of Russia stepping up more attacks or doing more attacks in the next 48 hours or so to mark its 1 year of its invasion of Ukraine, or what it defines as special militarized operation. That being said, we're seeing more and more advisories being issued. The German Foreign Office yesterday issued an advisory to its citizens, saying and rather asking them to not to travel to Moscow between 20th and the 26th of February. So we're looking at potentially these warnings at least until Sunday, where there are fears of an attack from the Russian side that is likely to be in here where I am, in Kiev, in Odessa, in Mykolaiv, in Kherson, in Kharkiv, in Sumy, and elsewhere in the country, areas which have been attacked predominantly by Russia as and when its invasion began. And those attacks, the number of them, they might have simmered down, but they continue. It's not that they have completely ended, and the Ukrainian authorities fear that these attacks will be raised in the next 48 hours or so in the run-up to that to that anniversary that will be marked on the 24th of February. Neha?
Palpable fear there on the ground in Kiev and elsewhere in Ukraine. Understandable given how this war has panned out over the last 1 year. Thanks so much, Anas, for all those details.